my friends. Welcome to Sort of Brilliant, a show where the characters are made up and Hogwarts house sorting absolutely does matter. My name is Rachel.
And I'm her best friend and co-host, Lauren. Every other week, we're going to invade a fandom and determine whether your favorite character belongs in Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, or Slytherin. There's bound to be some arguments along the way.
But in the end, we're always right.
Well, according to us.
According to us. Hello, my fellow human beings. How's everybody doing out there today? I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. Lauren, how you doing?
Good. You are doing well. I like your little slip in there for the theme of the week.
Thank you. I came up with it all on my own.
Yeah, did you?
No help from my co-host.
No one gave that to you to start with?
Not at all. That was all me. Human beings. All right, guys. Community episode. Before we get into it, though, just want to talk to my friend a little bit more here. Just see how she's doing, how life's going.
I mean, also just about Community, which is an amazing show. They left us hanging on their promise, but it's coming soon. I feel it in my bones.
Do you really? You really think they're going to do it?
Joel McHale keeps telling us that it's coming, that we're going to get the movie.
I don't believe
it. 6 seasons in a movie promise. You don't believe it?
I don't believe it. No, I never believed it. You believe it?
I didn't believe season 6, and then Yahoo brought them. So why can't we have a movie?
I mean, you're right. Listen, it makes the most sense for them to do it. And obviously, I want it because Community is one of the greatest shows I feel that has ever been created of all time. I'm in love with it from start to finish.
Dan Harmon writes good TV. Like he sure does.
He sure does. I mean, the characters, the story, just absolutely everything, down to the acting, to every line is a joke. Who does that? Who does that and gets away with it and makes it so good? Every line is a joke. It's amazing.
Actors and actresses are really good. Like all of those people went on to do really amazing things.
They did.
Donald Glover is huge now. I mean, now he always was, but Joel McHale is pretty big. Alison Brie.
I know, with Glow, such a good show too.
What's the name of the actress that plays Britta? She was just in something too.
Jillian Jacobs, or is it Gillian? I think it might be Gillian.
Gillian. Yeah, she's been in some like mainstream stuff lately.
Yeah, they all went on to do really well.
Yeah, and forget his name too. Abed has been in Captain America. So
they all, like most of them, I think, except Joel McHale, had cameos in the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
So
in
funny.
Endgame. Yvette Brown was in Endgame.
Right. When me and my husband were doing a Marvel rewatch of all the movies, it was just so funny because we would just stop and go, "Oh my God, it's Shirley!" Or like, "It's Chang! Look, it's Chang!" Like, and it just kept happening. And we had to Google it to be like, "This was on purpose. They're friends with the Russos."
But is it Ken Wong? Is that his last name?
I'm sure. I think you're saying it correctly.
I think he's super famous. Like The Hangover.
And how well deserved. He's so funny.
He's hilarious.
I mean, Community, listen, Chang infuriates me like as a character, but in the funniest way.
Rachel tells me we're never allowed to sort Chang
because I can't do it. He's not real. He's
beyond the limits.
I can't even, it actually hurts my brain to even begin thinking about where to put this man. Who are you sorting, Chang or Kevin?
Kevin. It's Changnesia.
God, he makes me feel like I have Changnesia. I can't think about him too long, but he's so funny.
John Oliver was on that show for the first 2 seasons. Like, that's crazy.
Didn't he come? He came back at the end, too, in season 6, I believe.
He did. He came back in season 6, which is also crazy that Yahoo called John Oliver.
I know.
And he was like, sure.
He's like, hell yeah, this is one of the funnest things I've ever done. Why not? He's so funny on that, too. I can't say enough good things about the actors, the actresses, just all of it. The show itself. It does nothing wrong. Even season 6, where I'm just like, oh, this isn't as good as the other ones. It's still good. You just miss people. Like, you miss Troy and you miss Piers.
Yeah, and their friendship. Like, and even people who haven't, like, seen the show, I doubt that you have gotten away without, like, hearing something. Like, you know what the darkest timeline is. You've heard Troy and Abed in the morning. Like, you know what the show is.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, the references, it's just...
You've seen the gif of Troy coming into the apartment holding the pizza boxes with the whole place on fire.
With the troll staring at him from the flames that Pierce spot to scare him. fucking amazing. Every episode is just a masterpiece, and I don't understand how it didn't catch on and just wasn't an instant success for friggin' 15 seasons it should have gotten. It was so good.
It's like legitimately a cult classic, isn't it? Which I think they would almost be proud of. But it is. It's like Office Space or The Big Lebowski when it was made. And even right afterwards, it's like it has that really, really intense following of people that are like, why is nobody watching this? This is amazing. Right. And like it slowly gets that reputation over time. Like it just got on Netflix, and there was a huge surge during the summer quarantine of people watching it for the first time, which was fantastic.
And people being like, how did I never watch this before? It's so good. And we're all like, yeah, where were you when it was on? Come on.
Where were you when we needed the movie? But anyway, specifically this episode, we chose to sort Jeff Winger, obviously, and then Britta Perry and Annie Edison. So
hell yeah. All right. So who would you like to start with, Lauren?
You want to go with your favorite? Should we start with the heavy hitter?
All right. Well, listen, my favorite is Jeff. Jeff is my favorite character almost in anything. And I mean, I just told you my favorite show is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I'm telling you that my favorite character from a show is from a different one.
And Jeff's not even close to a Gryffindor, which I think is hilarious because you usually like Gryffindors too.
I do like Gryffindors, but I also have a thing for Slytherins big time. The mind of a Slytherin works in a way that I can't understand. I cannot think that way. I can see, like, Lauren's a Slytherin, so I can see how Lauren thinks sometimes, and I can follow the thread. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense for someone to react that way. But if I try to put myself in it, it's impossible. It's completely impossible. But with Jeff, it's actually different. I think he's a different kind of a Slytherin than Lauren is almost. I relate to Jeff a lot. And I said in one of our earlier, way back episodes, I think one of the first ones we ever did, that I think Slytherins and Gryffindors are a lot alike despite the core differences of like logic versus emotion.
Yeah. And like goodness versus for yourself.
Yeah. So like because actually one of the points that I want to make about Jeff, like just jumping right in, is Slytherin Jeff, of course, is that he's very apathetic, and I am too. Unless it's a cause that I really deeply, deeply care about. I mean, personally, I'm very apathetic to things. Like, it's not that I don't care about politics, religion, the big heavy hitting topics, whatever, but I can see hypocrisy around a lot of it that makes me kind of step back and go like, everyone's playing you, and this is all rigged against you, and it's dumb. Like, and it makes me apathetic. And I share that with Jeff, and I saw that in him as the character, and it made me fall in love with him. And it's such a Slytherin thing.
I was going to say that's just called being jaded, but I think it comes more naturally to Slytherins.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
We usually I was laughing at you saying apathetic, but then you explain more because if it's so easy to get you to like explode over things. Yeah. But for Slytherins, it's like you are very constantly in a state of like, emotion is so much energy, and you have to really be lit with something in order to like give that burst of like, I care about this, like, you know, otherwise it's just like a constant, pretty like steady background thrum of like whatever's happening. Fine.
Yeah. And I mean, for Jeff, that's a big thing. Like just even politically, like when he's running against Annie in that one episode, politics are a joke to him. And he says that to her. Annie's like, stop. No one's taking you seriously. Like, you need to stop. And he's like, yeah, it's almost like politics is a big joke, Annie. And he's doing it to prove a point because he's like, it's BS. It's not worth looking at. Everyone's corrupt. Who gives a shit? But Annie gives a shit. So then he gives a shit for her.
I was going to say that's like almost in direct contrast of like the episode where Annie had that like the other Annie.
Yeah, Annie.
I hate
right?
the Asian Annie. I'm sorry, I had to say it, but that's what the show calls her.
That's what they call her. Yeah.
But she like Annie is super competitive, and she wanted to start a UN, and then the other Annie was like, "I'm going to start a UN," and then all of a sudden Jeff was like, "Fuck you, we're doing a UN," even though he did not care about it at all. So
yeah, he's only going to care insofar as like Annie cares, Britta cares, Troy cares. That's what's going to make him care about it. The topic itself, he thinks is a joke. He thinks that they are stupid for enjoying it, but he's going to support them and back it and give it a little bit of care from his end.
He stays true to himself too, because in that same episode, like he did the UN, he got it all set up, but then the thing that like they lost it over was somebody farted and they all like lost their minds. And Jeff was like, I was the one who did it. Yeah. And he was the one like inciting the jokes about it. So
And just to your point about like emotions being a lot of work, that's a really big one in the, I believe it's a Thanksgiving episode when Jeff goes to see his dad and Britta's like, I'm a psych major now. I'm hiding in your car and I'm going to help you through this talk with your dad who abandoned you. And he's like, I don't care, Britta. Emotions are dumb. Fathers leave. Who cares? Right? And then he gets there and they're drinking scotch and he's being so apathetic and he's posturing like, whatever, dads are absent. But Britta makes him realize, no. You have emotions. You deserve to feel more than just this emptiness, this posturing over this. And he explodes on his father. And he what is the line that he says to his dad? He's just like, all due respect, which is none. And I'm like, oh, got him.
I mean, if you like, let's take it back to like the beginning, the pilot episode when Jeff like there are so many things that straight off the bat that you're like, this man is a Slytherin. Like he obviously comes in as like a total loner. He has no friends. He like he's friends with Duncan, kind of, not really. Like Duncan tries to extort his car from him, but like he's friends with Duncan and he's like friends with the lawyers at work. But we learned pretty soon that wasn't the case either. But like he doesn't have any friends, and he's obviously like a guy who like goes through the string of one night stands. And he has no family. And then we meet his lawyer friends and like, I think Jeff liked them just because they all thought the same way. So like is a relative term. He just like could relate to them. And like, he doesn't have friends and he comes to this college, this community college that he has to go to because he lied about having a degree to be a lawyer. And he starts a study group because he sees a blonde girl in his Spanish class who cannot speak Spanish and is like, I want to sleep with her. I guess I'll start a study group.
Yeah.
So, and then it backfires because it turns into an actual study group and not just him and this girl trying to study Spanish. Which he was trying to sleep with her. So, but it was like this whole manipulative thing from this guy who did not have any close connections with anybody who like just decided he wanted to sleep with Britta.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's a very Slytherin thing too, that he touts himself like as this non-caring, ruthless, selfish lawyer, because he's really none of those things, but the perception of him being those things really matters to him, right? He kind of admires that lawyers are these like cold-hearted, liars, cheaters, they'll steal. Like he'll lie. He lied about his BA, right? Yeah. But he knows it's wrong. And I just think that Jeff admires himself and other lawyers and people like that because they're so successful at it. And therein lies his ambition. And he can be selfish about it, but there is a guilt that exists there, right? He's not all of these things he postures himself as, but he does kind of respect it in other people.
Well, like, I mean, he justifies it to himself too, which is easy for him to do because like you said, he admires that. And it literally carries itself throughout the show. He manipulates the study group at every single point to get what he wants, every episode to get what he wants. And the rest of the study group is like, yeah, Jeff, you're the leader. You're the daddy of the group. Like, just do whatever you want. We'll listen to you. So, like, they enable him to do this. And then he feels like it's okay because they're enabling him to do it. But he, like, manipulates everybody. He, like, manipulates the dean. He manipulates Sting.
He does. Every single person. And it's just, that's so interesting because it's almost like his ambitions are manipulating people to keep them around, especially the group, because he's nothing without his group, and he comes to realize that like it's so important to him to lie to keep them intact. And maybe it's selfish, but that's not how he views it as a Slytherin, because I mean, Jeff knows better than everybody, right? So it must be the right thing to do because he's doing it.
No, and it's all about getting to that end goal too, that Slytherins have too. Like he came into school and was like, I'm leaving as soon as I can with my BA and I'm going to be a lawyer again. Or like the shorter term end goals of like whatever the hell is happening to the group every episode. Like he gets to them. He manipulates his way to that point. But You just said too, you mentioned like his logic. And before we did this episode or this podcast, one of the episodes I watched was the beginning of season 3. And so like Jeff especially is always trying to get Pierce out of the group because Pierce is just awful. And so Jeff is always trying to get him to leave. And by the end of season 2, Pierce had left. So, and then he wanted to come back. And so Jeff was like, so every season they pick a new class to be in together so that they can keep the study group. And they all sit in the study room around this table, which is also fucking funny because at the end of the show, they had all these retrospectives of students who were like, I never got to sit at the fucking table because they thought they owned it or something when the show has always been from their perspective and you just assumed that like nobody else wanted the table. But like he goes on this whole thing about how it doesn't matter that Pierce didn't get into the class that they were in because they were all true friends now. And like the table wasn't magic and it didn't connect them or whatever. And then Jeff got kicked out of the class and Pierce took his spot. And he was like, suddenly his logic switched and he was like, oh, now we have to find another class to be in together.
Right.
And the group was like, but Jeff, you said we're true friends. We don't need a class. The table's not magic. And Jeff, like, he ends up losing it. He takes an axe to the table.
Yeah,
he can't handle it.
Yeah, no, the group is such a core part of him. And it's so funny because he can't stand being removed from it, but he also will not let anyone else in it. Like, there are others throughout the show that they really try. Like, at one point, Jack Black has a cameo. He tries really hard. Right? Like, he tries really hard to get in to fit. Or, like, what's the guy's name that ruins everything that they're horrible to him? What's his name?
Which one?
The guy they have to do the science project with.
Go! No. Oh, no. I just said it. Troy? No, not Troy.
No.
Travis?
Oh, you're so close.
I know I am. Oh, no.
It's not Neil. It's not Neil.
No, it's not Neil. That's Fat Neil. I'm going to look it up.
Kevin.
Hang on. I'm going to look it up.
Oh,
I just
he's the
said
worst.
it. We were talking about it.
I know.
Hang on. I'm looking it up. I'm so mad.
We have our research team on it, actually. She's not doing it. We pay people to do this.
Yeah, I'm getting a call from the research team.
Dan?
No. No.
He's the little white guy with curly hair.
I know. He's got a wife and a daughter. And he tries to talk to Shirley about it. And they're like, this is a new guy. Oh my God. Sorry. I'm reading the episode summary.
Well, this guy very easily could have been helpful to them in their science project. In general, he's a smart, nice guy. And Todd, poor Todd. Oh, the way they treat Todd, man. Jeff is not having it, okay? And truthfully, none of them are having it, right?
They're all like, I don't want to be, but they're like, I don't want to be the new guy, but they, the problem is that they all paired up with the person they wanted to initially, and Pierce got Todd. And so then they end up not liking the person that they chose, but they don't want to admit it because they have such a loyalty to the group and they don't want to be mean to their friend or whatever. So it ends up becoming when they all get together and they're like, you're trying to switch partners, and they're like all getting butthurt. It suddenly turns into very quickly, this is the Todd problem.
Yeah, poor Todd.
They're like, let's go to the study room to figure this out. And Todd's just like, should I come? And Jeff's like, it's called the Todd problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great example of how Jeff just does not let anyone else in. And I mean, sure, you can say they're all really terrible to him in that one episode, because they are. But it's a Jeff problem, right? He can't just let anybody in. They have to have been there with him from the beginning. And the show does make acceptances for this when people like Troy or Pierce leave, where they have to fill someone up like on the cast list. But Jeff struggles with it every time, and he'll make a huge ass lawyer case for why they don't belong. But it really boils down to they weren't here from day one. They didn't take this journey through college with me. Also, they haven't been wingered, right? He's put all this like manipulation into having him having them
Who's
right.
Who's the old guy that they bring in? The grizzled old guy. Jeff has a real problem with him.
Something like Kami or I can't remember his name.
No, the white old guy, not the
the professor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember his name. Sorry, guys. Because this is what I'm talking about.
The dregs of season 5.
Listen, this is how I view it too. Like, this is another reason I feel so similar to Jeff. Like, if you're not that important, you're just kind of like side. I'm not going to remember you. It's not going to stay in my core memory. But yeah, they didn't take the journey through college with him. The others did. They didn't earn his respect or his loyalty. So it's like incomprehensible to him to let them in or be seen on the same level as Annie or Shirley or Abed. Like, he can't. You weren't there from the start.
And I think that old guy, because what kind of professor is he? He's like a psychology, isn't he?
Crime.
He's something like that. Crime, yeah. So he like right away, this is why Jeff doesn't like him too, because he right away starts analyzing Jeff and is like pointing out that he's manipulating the group, whatever. And Jeff is like, get the fuck out of here. Like, don't tell them.
No, he can't have that. Oh, Buzz Hickey.
Buzz Hickey, that's right.
Yeah.
Another tidbit from our research team.
There you go. Thank you, research team. My Google Chrome. Yeah, no, he can't have that. You cannot turn around and analyze him. I mean, he'll take it from the people that are already there. He'll fight it anyway. He'll laugh it off and be like, sure, Britta, you figured me out. But like, there's truth in it sometimes. He just can't handle it. He hates that.
There's that clip I love sending you for other reasons, but from season 6 with that lady who comes in, I can't remember her name also.
Codependency one?
Yeah, no, yeah, when he's like talking about how the group operates and something Britta and Annie are doing, and he's like, when Britta needs help and Annie needs help and they rely on each other, that's called synergy. And this lady's like, it's codependency. And he's like, synergy.
Yeah, he's not even trying to lawyer his way out of that one. He's just like, no, it is what I said it is. This is not codependent. But he knows. They all know there's something like really wrong with them. But he, he loves them. Like, they've been there from the very jump. And that's so Slytherin, right? Like, that's his circle. Those are his people. And he actually really does value them all individually. Like, do you remember the episode with Abed's birthday dinner?
Hard. When Abed tries to...
Yeah, he does this whole Pulp Fiction thing.
Him and he's trying to do Pulp Fiction.
Oh, he tries so hard. And Abed's acting so normal. And Jeff just can't understand. And he's so angry at the end of it because he really was trying to get Abed. He cares about him so much. He was trying so hard to understand. Abed was doing his bit. Like, he was
doing that movie. He wanted to do that movie. Like, like Abed's whole thing is like being in movies. So Jeff set up a movie birthday for him with his favorite movie ever. And Abed had already decided he was doing this other movie and didn't tell Jeff. So Jeff was so
but he really wanted to give Abed something good because he tries so hard throughout the series to understand him. But it's interesting because even though he really doesn't get Abed all the time, he does come to a really great understanding of Abed by the end. But point being, he's been there from the beginning, so he is part of the circle.
Well, and that's like the paradox of Jeff too, right? Like, he constantly is saying like, you're broken, Abed, and like that kind of thing. But he's also like the first to like defend him from his dad, and like the whole Christmas episode when Abed's mom wasn't coming home for Christmas, and they called in Duncan to do like the psychoanalysis claymation thing. Yeah. So I mean, Jeff like was typically, I don't want to be here, but he was there. So
right. Yeah, no one else is gonna shit on his people. Like, he can shit on his people, but you can't.
That's the
very
thing.
Southern.
That's the thing with Jeff too. Like, like Annie is too. We've pointed this out. It's Annie and Jeff, but Jeff especially is the most fucked when the group is like, we're not a group, like we're going off and doing our own thing. Like, Jeff is screwed. His entire thing, like the whole point of the show is we're following Jeff Winger take community college at age like 38 or whatever, because he didn't actually have his BA. So the whole point of the show is to get Jeff his BA so he can go be a lawyer again. And then it turns out when everybody else goes off to try to like live their lives, and like the group is a mix, like some of these kids are college age, so they're actually going off like to their own lives, like getting their lives started. And then some of them are like older like Jeff, but he's the most screwed when all of these people are like, okay, we graduated, we're off doing our own thing. He's like, I can't have it.
No, it's in any time it happens, like there's after he graduates, he's got this whole like failed lawyer attempts with that commercial that's so bad of him like flying through the air like Superman, like, and he had so much anxiety over graduating and leaving the group, and he showed it off like he was worried about them. And I think he was worried about them. He's like, how can they live without me? But he comes to realize it's like, also, how can I live without them? And it manifests itself, that anxiety, into the evil study group episode. And it's just so funny how he spirals. Like, they're his everything. They're all he has. They're his attachments to what matters in the world. Without them, he's like, he doesn't care about anything. He's screwed. So because his ambitions over the year have revolved completely around them, he can't revert back to like that bullshit, I'm a hardcore lawyer, whatever. It's done. They got in past his walls. Like, it's over. So the group is just everything to him. And going back to like defending Abed to his dad, or Shirley to anybody, really, he is not going to let anyone step on the people he loves. Like, loyalty and defense of it are what drive Jeff, especially with a group. And it's really what pushes his progress as a person.
But this also, it's like so weird because it also extends a little bit, like him being protective of the group also like twists itself inside out to being responsible for when the group is being too much of a dick. Like that whole episode with Neil where they play Dungeons and Dragons is because Neil is being ostracized like by the college at large, but Pierce is a big part of like being awful to him. And so Jeff is like, I got to make this right, even though Neil's not part of the study group.
Right. But you know that is also because Neil overheard Jeff saying something horrible about him.
Yeah, that's
true. So Jeff feels guilty about it.
Yeah.
So now he's got to fix it. Right. And he does. It's very rare for Jeff to give up a Saturday. That's something he says throughout the series he's not doing. And he does that for Neil, and he does it out of a sense of personal guilt. So Jeff, his selfishness is not without guilt. Like, he might admire cold-heartedness in other people, but he comes to realize that's really not him. And it's what Britta and Annie throughout the whole series try to show him.
Yeah.
But he really has to come to it on his own, right? He's not going to just take Britta and Annie's advice. He's got to figure it out on his own.
Yeah.
And the only guilt, I mean, the guilt Jeff comes from is letting people down, primarily letting his friends down or himself down. Everything else is kind of a stepping stone.
I'm just imagining Annie going, oh, and Jeff's immediately like, damn it. Like,
it's like, stop. No. Fine. And I mean, he really, really values like his physical and mental health too. Like, he really does. He takes care of himself. And he puts that before other things sometimes, his self-care. Like, he's not giving up his Saturday. He's not giving out his personal phone number. He's fine with it. He knows if he's not the strongest one of all of them, they're going to crash and burn without him. Like, he just knows it in himself. And it's just also funny that it's true the other way around. He is going to crash and burn without them.
Well, what is it to the episode where they convince him that maybe he needs like pills for stress?
Anxiety.
They make his ego so bad.
Yeah, if you take away Jeff's ability to feel shame, you're creating a monster. The shame is what actually keeps him human, the ability to feel guilt, and the anxiety meds took it away. And he's just like, whatever, I'm perfect now.
And like the whole episode, they have girls going up to him like, oh, you look so good. And like they show like his ego getting bigger.
And he wears the aviators in the building, and the dean falls on the floor. He's like, look at his shadow. Shadow. And Britta's like, Jeff, no, we got to get you off these pills. He's like, I've never felt better.
He understands how to read other people. And like like part of being a leader of the group is like retaining the balance within the group. Because there's also an episode where when this whole thing with Britta and Jeff is going on, Britta drunk calls Jeff and like leaves him a message, and it's not even that like it's really not that bad. But Britta doesn't remember what she said, so like Jeff is like holding it over her, like you said some stuff to me, and like Abed makes him like Abed helps him, but Jeff comes to the realization that to keep the balance within the group and within their relationship, that he also has to leave her a drunk message. Right. And like he did it, which was like, it was hard for Jeff to have to do that, knowing that he was doing it, like planning it beforehand.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, he also, like, he doesn't mind having the appearance of the upper hand. Like I had said this earlier, the group like calls him daddy. They let him. Like he likes having the appearance of the upper hand, like even when he doesn't have it. And like when the group chastises him, it's because he's really losing it. Like they're like, you need to stop.
What's that? Okay, I hate bringing up episodes when I don't remember facts about them, but there's just one episode where everyone's going around the table like drawing tally marks on it for certain things.
No, it's Troy and Ovid. It's like Ovid does it because somebody made a TV show reference.
Yes.
And then Troy's is like somebody said a word. I think it was like a meaningless one.
But what was Jeff's?
Oh.
It was like ego mentions or something.
I'm gonna look it up now, like your hair looks good or something like that. It was something like that.
It's something very specific to that episode, but he's tallying something about him. Like, it's all about Jeff. It's the Jeff show. Even though he loves them all, right? He's coming from a lens of himself. Like, he's never going to care about anything more, really, than himself. Like, I'm sorry. I don't want to say it that way, right? Because he does love them, and he does deeply care about them. But Jeff knows if he doesn't take care of himself, and if he doesn't put himself first, how can I take care of these idiots? You know?
I'm sorry. I'm quietly losing it because I know Troy's not being talked about in the episode, but I just remembered his tally marks are number of tally marks.
Oh, yeah. Troy is one of the best characters on the entire show. I can't wait to sort him. He's hilarious. Oh, he's so funny. Oh, my God, he's so funny.
Anyway.
I can't.
Jeff. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to bring up, his jealousy and obsession with Rich, with Dr. Rich.
Yes. Teach me how to be you.
Because they're in that goddamn pottery class and Rich is making giant like Grecian vases and like his first day of pottery, a beginner's pottery class.
Yeah.
And Jeff is like losing his mind.
Yeah, because no one else can see what Jeff is seeing. And he's like, what do you mean? He's a liar.
Right.
And at the end, he's like, well, then just teach me how to lie that good. Like, if I can't beat you, I have to become you. He's like that with Britta's carny ex-boyfriend, Blade, too.
Yes.
And he doesn't realize it's because Blade has a, like, brain hemorrhage. Like, there's something actually severely wrong with him. And Jeff's like, how do I get like that? He's so cool. He's so without shame, without care. Amazing. I need that to be me. He's ridiculous. He's the most Slytherin to ever Slytherin.
He really, like, and like with Jack, I was so mad that we were going on the stereotype, but I'm not even mad about Jeff. Like, he just purely is.
I mean, you can, I don't know that I've ever actually seen Hogwarts House arguments for community characters.
I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah, but I'd find it difficult to put him anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a pure Slytherin. Like, he'd be a pureblood. Like in Harry Potter.
If he wasn't, he'd lie really well about it and join the Death Eaters. So, like, I don't know.
That is the perfect way to finish out Jeff. Like, that was zing. That was perfect. We should move on to one of my favorite characters of all time. Let's do Britta.
Are all your favorites?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really love the show, guys. I can't say enough good things. They're all my favorites. But Britta is
not a stereotype.
Let me tell you, you're going to be shocked by where we put Britta.
If you know Britta at all.
Like, I want you guys.
Otherwise, you might just be listening to the show. Like, I don't know much about Community, but these girls say some funny things.
Sure,
but you should watch like one episode because you will learn Britta, and then think about what we've sorted her out.
Yeah, and for those of you who have watched Community, okay, and do know Britta, take 1 second right now to just imagine where you'd place her. Like, where would you put her? I'll give you a second before we tell you where she goes. Well, like, Lauren, tell them.
Where do you think people are putting her?
Interesting. I can see people putting her in Gryffindor because she's brave, and that's the stereotype.
Okay.
She's loud, she's passionate, so I could see a Gryffindor sorting for her from other people.
Okay. Britta's a Ravenclaw.
She said that with such, like, shame. She was like, no, I'm gonna prove it, but just, like, don't get mad at me. No, she's a huge-ass Ravenclaw.
I don't think people are gonna get mad. I think they're gonna be like, the fuck are you talking about?
They're gonna be like, yeah, you'd never be a Ravenclaw because you're a dumbass for saying it.
Yeah, you got Britta'd and you're a Ravenclaw?
Britta is a huge Ravenclaw. Huge. And I had this discussion with my husband before this episode. I was like, where would you put her? And my husband's a Ravenclaw. And he said Ravenclaw. And I was like,
first he said, is there a house for dumbasses?
Oh, yeah. And I was like, yeah, yours.
We are not saying Ravenclaw's the house for dumbasses. It's just where Britta is.
No. I married a Ravenclaw. I love them. We're not shitting on Ravenclaws, but Britta is a dumbass and she is a Ravenclaw. They exist, people. I promise they exist.
Gilderoy Lockhart, if you need that kind of in-canon reference.
I mean, really, what a dumbass. Amongst all the geniuses that Ravenclaw spits out, like Gilderoy Lockhart, but also Britta Perry, okay? Britta is a system lover. That's a Ravenclaw. She modifies.
As much as she rails against the system.
Oh, yeah. No, we're going to get into it. She adapts to the political system she believes in over and over again, right? And that's the lens of how she views the world. Through that, she values what she perceives to be the truth above everything else, including friendships and including how she's looked at by other people, because Britta doesn't give a shit about what you think of her. Not even a little.
Well, her truth is basically like, it's fuck the system.
Yeah.
It's anarchy.
Yeah. And that's like the case with Ravenclaws, though, with systems too. Like, she's not created by the system she believes in, but she needs it more than anything. Without it, she's like, who am I? She literally drops out of high school to impress Radiohead. She joins the Peace Corps. She gets tear gassed. She's a radical anarchist until they like start to break down. She's not enough of an anarchist for them anymore. And then she realizes, okay, I need to move on. She keeps the truths of what she learned close to her, but she moves on with her life in search of new truths too.
That's what I think it's so like I talk about how like the Gryffindor paradox and how funny they are, but Ravenclaws are so funny too because they are super into their system and very like loyal to their system. But Ravenclaws are very like logic beholden. They just are. And like logic doesn't necessarily mean smart. It like logic is independent to you, right? It's unique to you.
Yeah.
So they're beholden to the system, but when somebody can convince them that another system is more like logical or preferable, it's an immediate God damn it, you're right.
Yeah, she absolutely. She wavers back and forth within her own beliefs. Like if she learns something new or is ashamed of something from her past, which is heavily Ravenclaw. Like Pierce goes in that one episode that we were talking about in the hospital. He leaves her all that money. And he's like, yeah, oh, you're such a goody.
$10,000.
Yeah, pay your rent or donate it to charity. And like she adheres to her truth, right? She does. She gives it away.
She literally spends the entire episode agonizing though. She's like, I'm taking money from the mouths of children. And everybody's like, you're not, Britta.
Yeah. No, that's literally, but she can't view it any other way. Like, that's just her lens. That's her logical truth. And I can't think of anything more Ravenclaw. She
gets so mad when she's not following that truth. Like, she freaks out. Like, one of the episodes I just watched was she finds out that one of her old buddies was, like, arrested in some country for protesting for things. And she's like, I've become soft. Like, I haven't been arrested in such a long time. And like, I haven't been doing anything. So she's like, I'm gonna go fuck the man. And the whole group is like, should we do something about it? And Jeff goes, no, she won't do it right. And she Chang is a security guard on campus by that point. So his job is to watch over the trash can to make sure students don't bump into it when they're leaving the library. And so Britta's leaving the library and he's like, watch the can, student. And Britta comes back and kicks the can over.
Yeah. And the whole episode is her battle against the man. And he's basically a fucking mall cop. And it's her. They're in this like love affair. Like he needs someone to go after to prove himself as a cop. And she's like, yes. And they play like Lionel Richie every time they see each other. It's so ridiculous. But she like, this is just her. Her truth revolves around anarchy and distrust in systems, like specifically political or positions of power. And all of her behavior is based on that. And even though like she believes that everyone can and should believe in what they want, she's driven insane by other people's truths that are the opposite of hers. Like
or
Shirley being a Christian.
Systems. Yeah, religion.
She can't take it.
She's so radically against the system that she comes all the way back around to intolerance.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like she doesn't like hypocrites, but she can't find it. She can't see it in herself.
This is another gift people have probably seen.
I know what you're going to say.
No, you say it because I'm not going to do it right.
She's like, I can
tolerate racism, but I draw the line at animal cruelty.
Yes. And Shirley's like, you can tolerate racism? But that's Britta. That's so Britta. Like she tries so hard to come off as knowledgeable and like she knows better, but she mispronounces words and becomes the butt of the joke.
Oh my
like
God, I was
Bagel.
just gonna say, like, she follows her own logic, but she's not smart. Like,
Yeah.
like Bagel, and I'm from New York. Like,
Yeah. And she's somewhat pretentious and she's trying not to be. Like she doesn't want to be pretentious. She's aware of when other people are doing it and she doesn't want to be like that. But she is. She is. And she's so inflexible though too when she puts her mind to something and she will not back down. Like when Jeff and Britta, they had been over for a while and then I don't remember the cause of it, but they were going to get married. And they were married.
Britta was railing against marriage as like a sexist institution, and Jeff was railing against it because marriage doesn't work, right? You can't stay together with somebody forever. So they started one-upping each other on how much they didn't believe in marriage to the point that they were about to get married to one another to prove how bad marriage was.
All spite of a system like that she does not believe in, right? And but what's funny is that on the flip side of that, like she'll become flexible if she can flip the situation to like benefiting her. Because after she has that really embarrassing love confession for Jeff at the dance, I think it's like season 2, she's so embarrassed. When she comes back to the school, all the girls in the school are like, you're a feminist icon. Like you bare your
Jeff
soul.
rejected her in front of everybody.
And she like gets into this fake relationship with Jeff and they have this like love competition and they hate it. That neither of them want to be doing it, but out of spite, she's going to make it work for her. And I really don't think people in other houses besides Slytherins can do that. Like spite will drive you to that point.
No, because here's the funny thing. Like, because Ravenclaws and Slytherins belong in the logic versus emotion houses, right?
Yeah.
So where emotion is incredibly draining to us, spite is like our
And I love that you said that. I love that you said that because Britta knows herself enough to know that she has to ignore her emotional impulses. Because remember Blade? Like Britta, she just creates her own version of logic, okay? She's going to be a therapist. She questions every emotional impulse.
Everybody, they were like, oh God.
Yeah, and so she questions every emotional feeling she has, like including her feelings for Jeff, and she gets so mad at herself for having them at all. She knows what her issues are emotionally and like completely tries to avoid them, and that's why Blade drives her nuts. Like he's emotional catnip because of his brain injury.
Yeah, because he like does not care about her. So she's like, I need him.
She literally makes Annie and Troy and Abed lock her in a room and take away her phone to stop her from going after him. And the whole episode, you're like, what the hell is wrong with her? Like, he doesn't care about her, doesn't care about anything, but it's emotional catnip. Like, she needs it. She's like, you don't care about me? Oh my God, yes, don't care about me more. Like, and she's so aware she has this issue. So she's just like, emotions are not going to cut it for me. Keep me away from him.
But I mean, they name screwing up after her. The group does.
Yeah, you Britta'd it.
Yeah, to Britta something. And the first time, I think it's Jeff who uses it first. He's like, did you Britta? I think it's she just became a psych major and she does psych evaluations on the group and she like screws up the test results. So like one of the people in the group is like a certified psychopath and she doesn't know who it is because she screwed it up. So Jeff is like, did you Britta the test results? And she's like, does Britta mean to make a small mistake? And Jeff is like, sure. That's what it means.
I can't with her. What is it that she says when she finds out what it means? She's like, knock, knock, who's there? Cancer? Oh no, don't worry. It's just Britta. Like she's
you Britta.
Yeah, I know. I can't. She drives me nuts. Like, I just think she's one of the funniest characters ever. I can't believe it. She's so against this hypocrisy and she's such a hypocrite. Like she'll literally like fight for you to She'll fight so hard, like when she starts being friends with that girl who she thinks is a lesbian, and she's hanging out with her, and
she's only hanging out with her because she's a lesbian.
Yeah, because she's got this.
She's like, I need diverse friends.
Yeah, I need diverse friends. I need people to see me with diverse people so that, like, A, everyone knows it's okay. But, like, more than that, I need to be seen as showing that it's okay.
Doesn't she get to the point of, like, trying to make out with this girl who's not a lesbian?
Yeah. And the other girl's like, I thought you were a lesbian. And she was doing the exact same thing back to her.
Yes.
But, go ahead.
I just like, we touched a little, like, it's spite thing, but she also, and she only can because Jeff is a Slytherin and this type of Slytherin, but she also gets into I'm smarter, I'm better fights with Jeff. Yeah. Like, Troy's 21st birthday when they're trying to go to the bar and she's like, let's go to this bar, and Jeff's naming another bar and they're arguing about like why the other bar is better, because they're like, it's quite, like, whatever. They're arguing about why the bar's better. And the entire car ride with poor Troy in the back is them arguing over this better bar. Yeah. And it's the same fucking bar that they're calling a different name.
Yeah. This is completely off topic, but this is just why I love Jeff and Britta together. I just love them. I can't. They made me so happy to watch because they're such idiots, just trying to one up each other and like out logic the other. And I love that, like, Jeff has her so clocked as such a moron, and she has him clocked for all the reasons he's a moron. And it just something about it just worked for me in my brain. But the cool thing about Britta too, and it's really true of Ravenclaws, like, she does not need any of them. The way Jeff needs that group, Britta does not need them. She'll go and get like arrested and never think about them again. She doesn't need anything except her truths and her belief system. Like, her cats are more important than her relationships. It's so Ravenclaw.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she also, and she like Jeff, but unlike his talent for it, and this is why she becomes a psych major too, is because she thinks she has a good read on people. So she's like, so she like becomes a psych major, and then especially when she becomes the psych major, she starts poking at everybody like this is what your psychological issue is or whatever, and just admit it. And like, she always screws it up. And like Rachel already mentioned this earlier, the one time she gets it right is because she pokes enough at Jeff that he comes to it on his own. And even she cannot believe it. Like, she
It's true. She believes in herself so much, but like doesn't at all. She absolutely actually hates herself. Like, Britta really hates herself, but she's trying so hard to prove that she's better than like what she thinks of herself, her own insecurities. And she knows she's a joke to other people. And she tries so hard to rally against that because she doesn't want to believe it of herself. Right. But still, like, at the end of the day, I think even Pierce says that to her when he gives her his sperm. Like, his parting gift is like, you don't deserve to hate yourself.
Yeah.
So that's a big core part of her personality too. She really grapples with that.
I'm glad you touched on this way at the beginning because we didn't talk about this at all, and you immediately clocked her hypocrisy. This is why it lines up with Ravenclaws, or like why it doesn't line up with Ravenclaws and their whole truth thing too. Because they can't abide like hypocrisy because it means that their truth isn't working. Like, if you're a hypocrite yourself, your truth obviously can't be right. Like, you can't be a hypocrite and be following the truth. So you have two options. You either switch systems and adapt, or you ignore it as hard as you can. And Britta absolutely ignores the hell out of her hypocrisy.
Yeah. She's not going to admit that she's a giant hypocrite. Like, the stuff with Shirley with religion is just, it's hilarious. Like, they're in a car together and there's this like guy trying to hitchhike on the side of the road, and there are two women in a car, and Britta knows it's a bad idea, but Shirley knows it's a bad idea too.
A young black woman and a young white woman in a car together.
Yeah, and they're alone. There's this guy that's just like trying to get in the car, and he's an absolute psycho. Like, at the end of it,
but wait, the way that he's a psycho, he comes in and says he's Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
and
he says, I am Jesus Christ.
Oh, really? You're the Christ son.
Yeah, but he has to get to a point where he's like scary for her to get him out of the car because he was proving her point about like how ridiculous it is. She's like, oh yeah, Shirley, let's all just do what Jesus would do and pick up the hitchhiker. Like, she's trying so hard to get Shirley to believe in her own system, and it drives her nuts that Shirley won't. Drives her crazy. But Shirley's a whole other like can of worms with her own thing too. Like, she's not going to give that up. That's her system. There's no way around it. But Britta just can't see what a hypocrite she's being with it. And it's so funny because she'll point hypocrisy out in anybody else, like in a second, but cannot see it in herself.
No, she can't, or she has to admit that her truth isn't working and her truth is everything. She's not going to change it.
No, and she'll make herself look stupid if she has to. And just like, God, there was that whole episode with like the body, the cadaver. Like it's all her fault because she was trying to prove that she could be funny. And she Britta's everything because she can't just admit what everyone is saying about her. She's like, no, I'm going to prove them wrong. Like I can't admit it. And like she gets a cadaver thrown out of a window of a community college, like just to put like a frog on a hat as a terrible joke. She just Britta's it. God, the one thing she does not Britta is being a Ravenclaw. She excels at it.
Ravenclaw. Yep.
And I would love to see people's faces when they heard us say Britta's and Ravenclaw.
People who know Britta.
Me and Lauren have had running jokes about people that we don't like, that are really pretentious and come off kind of annoying.
Tell them that. You're really gonna start this narrative that we don't like Ravenclaw.
No, it's not because she's a Ravenclaw. It's just because she is who she's Britta.
That's true.
It's got some of our best friends and the man I married is a Ravenclaw. Like we actually really, really love them. Their brains are just so fun.
Yeah. God, I can't believe I'm saying this as proof, but Misha Collins is a Ravenclaw. Yeah,
Misha Collins from Supernatural. He plays Cass. Huge Ravenclaw.
Who we're fairly fond of. So.
Oh, we love him to death. Like he's our favorite celebrity ever. So no Ravenclaw hate on this podcast, at all.
Just Britta hate.
It's just, no, but also, I want to say it's not Britta hate because I love her. She brings me so much joy. I think she's hilarious. But there are people that kind of fit into the Britta stereotype, kind of, especially online where everyone can have a terrible fucking take on any topic. And the really pretentious types come off I would imagine saying things Britta says.
You're always going to see Britta gifs under those tweets where somebody...
Right. Like me and Lauren have been calling people like that Britta for, I don't know, 7 years or something now. But we love her. I swear her and Jeff are my two favorites and Troy's my third favorite. But I just love her. So no Britta hate, no Ravenclaw hate. I promise.
Now we get to talk about Annie, who you don't love at all, apparently.
It's not that I don't love Annie. It's that she's not someone I'd want to be friends with. Yeah, I just don't find her. She's my least favorite character on the show. I'll admit it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sad for Annie.
But I love all of them. It's just if I had to, put them on a list, she'd be at the end. I don't. She's not someone I want to hang out with.
Especially sad for Annie as a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, she is a Hufflepuff.
She's failed her higher calling that you don't want to. That you don't want to be friends. And she probably would have dehumanized you. So.
Yeah.
Wait,
we gotta work our way up to how Annie dehumanizes people. Annie Edison with her big Disney eyes dehumanizes you if you don't like her. But it's true. Okay, so just
let's start a broad picture. Broad picture. Hufflepuffs have a community, which is the name of the show. And what is Annie's community? But
her community is Greendale.
Yeah. To a more narrow extent, the study group, but to a much broader, loyal extent, it is Greendale.
Yeah, she's the one out of the group with the most school pride for no good reason at all. But it's her community.
This school's image is important to her because she goes to the school, so she adopts it. Yes. She adopts it as her community as an extension of her own image. When the study group submits the flag for the college for Greendale, and it gets accepted as the flag. It's an anus. And she tells the dean that it's an anus after they have already had all the flags printed up. But it gets them punished. They have to clean this freaking KFC rocket ship ride. So
yeah, and
she's the one who told on them.
I had this problem when I was speaking to Lauren about sorting Annie because I almost wanted to put her in Slytherin because I was like, well, she really values her people. But upon further thinking about it, I was like, wait, but Annie values Greendale even more than the group. Mm-hmm. She really, really does. She's going to campaign for Greendale. She runs for student council. She organized the STD fair. Any part of your
Greendale committee.
Yeah. That's where she's invested her loyalty, and that's where her priorities are. And Annie's priority starts off at the very beginning as Troy. Right. And that also threw me off a little bit by putting her in Hufflepuff because he's not a community. Right. But it broadens when she comes into herself and finds an actual community she values beyond Troy. It then becomes Greendale.
But the thing with Troy is too, Annie so desperately wants to be a part of something. In high school, she was not a popular kid. She didn't have any friends, and Troy was the most popular kid. So just like Greendale is like an extension of her image, Troy was a way for her to like have that image and to like become a part of something in high school, at least. And like, she kind of carries that to Greendale, and she actually drops that crush pretty quickly when she gets the study group. So like,
she does. Yeah, that's where she fits, and she fits into school, and she realizes I can make this something amazing. And all of her loyalty just falls down to Greendale. She's not embarrassed. Like, I'm okay. No, she is embarrassed of it, but she's trying so hard not to be by making it better, you know?
And it's a weird interplay too, because in the second season, when the flag thing happens and she tattles, and also when the stuff with Jeff happens, she was going to try to transfer to City College. So it was almost like a betrayal of Greendale there, but then like the study group pulls her back into their orbit, and also City College is like a bunch of assholes. So she kind of like comes back to it. But it's mostly for her. I think Annie sees the group that she's part of as an extension of herself. Like that's what's most important about it. Because Annie is like crazy competitive too. Like crazy competitive.
Yeah, to a scary degree.
Yeah.
Because you know what it is about Annie? She's mostly concerned with justice. Like, she's super sweet and kind and soft, but she's going to turn into a raging monster of an animal if she perceives any kind of injustice within her community. And she wants justice for herself too. Like, she could have ignored the whole Adderall thing and stayed close to her family, but she's like, no, I'm going to go to rehab. I'm going to confront my shit. I'm going to become better than that. And that's like, because, you know, her family like abandoned her for it. But that's justice to her. Like, she believes that's what I deserve and I'm going to do it. And she can be unjust though. Right?
Well, like Annie, I think it was I don't remember what we were talking about when we were struggling. Maybe it wasn't even Annie, but we were struggling about like what it means to be unsure of yourself or something and where that puts somebody. But with Annie knows she's smart. Like she's like, no question about it. She's like, I know I'm smart. And she uses that to get in with people. Like, she's like, they need me for these reasons. And you can see her, like, she does this all the time with the study group, complaining that they want to partner up with her or whatever just for her grades. But she loves it. She loves it. She loves the attention it gets her from Jeff, because Jeff's an idiot who needs to finish college in order to be a lawyer. Like, that's how she gets Jeff's like one-on-one time, because Annie is smart and Jeff needs that at first. And then he like obviously just likes Andy. But, and she also like, she uses, like I said, she uses it to get into groups. When she is leaving the college for the last time, she ends up going to the FBI, which is a hugely Hufflepuff institution. Like, hugely is the FBI a Hufflepuff thing.
Yeah, for sure. She's, Annie has this ability to see the value in everyone. And I feel like she's the one in the group who's the most willing to lend her hand out to someone who needs her. And whether it's because she wants everyone to like her, or she just really sees the value in people, I just feel like it's a very Hufflepuff thing. And she's also, she's brilliant, right? And she's really obsessed with trying to understand the people in the group, the people in the school, and she's very good at it. Like, she'll keep to herself for the most part until she gets pissed off enough, and then it gets blurted out how she was clocking you the entire time. Like, she's so sweet to Britta. And then when they start fighting kind of over Vaughn, like, it comes out and she's like, oh, did you wake up at 5 a.m. to ever so slightly curl your hair, Britta? and you're like, holy shit, that came from Annie. Like, I didn't see that in her at all, that she was sitting there like she had these thoughts, right? She's constantly analyzing. And then to Lauren's point, she uses that when she needs it, right? And it's not always done nefariously. Like, but when she zones in on a weakness, she's putting on the Disney princess face.
Like, it's not always, like, it's manipulative, but it's not this huge manipulative plot like Jeff is doing. She literally wants one thing. She wants you to let her in. And, like, and you were saying, too, that she, like, cares about people. I know Annie is always the one that's going to bat for Pierce. Like, no matter how much of a dick Pierce is to the group, and Jeff is like, no, get him out of my sight. She's like, oh, Pierce deserves to be in the group too. And Pierce recognizes that in the episode where he's trying to torture them with his like death gifts when he pretends that he's dying. He gives they figure it out too, because Jeff right away is like, this is stupid. He's just trying to like get at us. Like this is all some stupid lesson in his brain.
He's trying to make you think that it's something more manipulated than it is. It's just a tiara.
Yeah, no. So Pierce gives her a tiara, and Annie has like figured out, because she was somewhere in the middle. So the other ones had already gotten their gifts that are like tearing them apart. So she's like trying to figure out what the tiara is, and I cannot remember exactly what she says, but she goes back to Pierce's hospital room and gives it to him, and she's like, I figured out what you wanted me to learn. You wanted me to learn that I should value my friends over something, like I value my friends over material things, blah, 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 and gives him like this priceless diamond encrusted tiara back.
Yeah.
And remember, it was filmed documentary style. So Abed's like on Pierce after that whole exchange, and Pierce is just like, she really is just my favorite. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's so funny watching her go through that process, actually, because she really feels like she came to this she did come to a really cool truth about herself through it, but she was like, no, I know it's a test because I've analyzed Pierce and I know Pierce does this whole like big
But it's
thing.
also part of Jeff's manipulation too, that he straight up told them like this.
But what's interesting, like, I don't remember which episode that it was, but it takes a lot for her to really get pissed at Pierce. And when this is the thing about Annie, like, she doesn't forgive past lives. She's holding on to them, and she'll hold them against you later. Like that whole episode with the pen. Like creates this like psychotic episode, this bottle episode.
But that's a justice thing for Annie too. It's a justice thing.
That's exactly, right. Yep. She can't handle when injustices are committed. When she finds out that Jeff and Britta slept together after her and Jeff kissed, she literally punches him in the face. And it's not like some, oh my God, I'm so mad, like you liked another girl. She's grossed out by him because it was unjust of him to do it. Like, it was without honor. Like, she doesn't want the group to break up, right? It's just, it's the core of what matters to her within Greendale. But she's going to let him know, you committed an injustice, and that doesn't fly with me.
No, but you have to explain what the whole pen thing was, too. You just said the pen thing.
Sorry, I've talked about the pen episode so much that it's just like a normal thing for me to just say the pen. Yeah, there's a purple pen. She has a lot of purple pens. It's only her thing. And her pens continuously go missing. And she thinks she knows it's someone at that table in the group.
Like, she's lending out her pens and they're not giving her them back at the end of the study session.
And she's trying so hard to be nice about it until she snaps, because she's like, just admit it. She's out of pens. She's like, admit it. I can't look at you people anymore until one of you agrees, like, admits that you're stealing my pen. Like, and she gives them so many chances, and it really hurts her. Like, the injustice of it really, really hurts her until they all come to a resolution about it at the end, and you find out there's a fucking monkey in the vents stealing the goddamn pens.
The resolution is them literally stripping down to their underwear.
Because she couldn't let it go. She can't let it go. But, like, she also doesn't want that injustice to rip apart the group. I think she will if it goes too far. She'll let the group get ripped apart because community, like, her community overall is more important as Greendale. But she doesn't want it to happen, right? She doesn't want the group to break up. So, like, she'll rat out Senor Chang to the department and get him fired because he's faking his friggin' credentials to be a Spanish teacher, which anyone with a brain should see that he's faked his credentials, right? But she rats him out to the board because she wants to keep the group together in Spanish class. You know, like, she'll go ahead and do that. She'll do them so messed up. Like, she'll be a rat to keep them together. She'll do it. She needs them to stay together, right?
I was going to say Annie, other than Jeff, is the one most screwed up by them, like, breaking up. Because I think I mentioned this, too, when we were talking about her before we did this. Annie is a college-aged kid. And she's so smart. Like, Troy and Abed are the other college, but Troy and Abed are fucking weird. So, like, who knows what they're going to do with their life. But Annie should have, like, the entire world open her. She, honest to God, should be transferring after an associate into, like, a good school, not Greendale.
Yeah. No, and absolutely.
She doesn't. She cannot. She stays at Greendale because she's, like, she can't get the group to break up. And, like, going and something about Annie that, like, kind of goes along with this is Annie... Like, Abed does it really easily because of his whole thing with TV shows, and then Troy does it as his friend to play with Abed.
Right.
But Annie falls so easily into, like, the roles that she's been assigned when they're, like, play act. Like, Community is a show where there's a lot of play acting in the show. Like, it's canon to the show that they're play acting within the show. So, like I don't know, what is Abed's, like, imagination room called or whatever?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't remember the name of it.
But she like falls into like, they're literally playing in like a 4 foot by 4 foot room that they're imagining are like whole new worlds. And Annie falls into it so easily. The paintball episode where they're doing like Star Wars types roles and Abed is such a convincing Han Solo and she almost makes out. She does. She makes out with him.
Yeah, she does.
And like for a couple, like till the end of the episode, she is convinced that she's in love with him. Like she snaps out of it super quickly, but she was so into that role. It's so funny. She never again does she go back to that, which is another thing about like Annie. And she there are investigative reporter episodes where she's like immediately like in on it, or like the convention, the knockoff Doctor Who convention episode where
she's Jeff's wife.
She's Jeff's wife, and Jeff is actually, everybody's mistaking him for that the TV star, the like villain on the Doctor Who show. So
he's busy. So
what is it, Inspector Spacetime? Yeah, Inspector Spacetime. Yep. Yeah. So she's like, I'm this famous actor's wife.
And she plays into it so hard. Yeah, she does. She fills whatever role. That's why she fits in so good with Troy and Abed. It's the Dreamatorium.
It's why she fits in Dreamatorium. Is that the research team?
No, I just remembered it just now. Yeah, because there's something about saying Doctor Who that put the D.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the 4x4 room with like orange masking tape and a grid pattern.
So ridiculous, but she does it. Like, you're so right. She falls in.
And it's part of her like fitting in with the group. Like, and she does. She does. Like, she seems like the type because she's like so smart and so, like that wouldn't be into that stuff. And like Britta and Jeff and Shirley certainly aren't, but she like falls into it.
Yeah. Yeah, she does. But something that we do need to touch on before we wrap up Hufflepuff Annie is
the whole
wrapping
up? I have so much more to say about her.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, there was a lull, so I wasn't sure if you were finished with your notes. But big thing about Hufflepuffs.
How dare you tell the audience that I'm going off notes?
Oh, please. With our Supernatural episode, you were talking about your notes the whole time. Something that Lauren, you know what? I actually can't say the word that Lauren says. But Hufflepuffs do a thing where they dehumanize you. And Annie is extremely competitive, okay? And there's this war within her where she sees the value in people, like inherent value. She's the first one to lend a hand out to someone because the rest of the group sure as hell isn't. Versus if you get on her shit list, like Annie Kim, you are the scum of the earth now. You are othered completely. Like, you are dehumanized. And that is a Hufflepuff thing, which I'm sure a lot of people don't know about Hufflepuffs.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll try to explain this all like scientifically.
Yes, the science of sorting. That could have been the podcast name, the science of sorting.
I like our name. It's like the science of human leveling, which is a Slytherin Hufflepuff thing that Ravenclaws and Gryffindors do not. I don't know how they manage it, but they don't do it at all.
Nope.
Everybody. Yeah. So like Slytherins are like, the circle that they have, and then that's their like it's not as intensive as Hufflepuffs are. Like Slytherin circle, that's it, done. Hufflepuffs have like this broad regard for humanity, but then they for some reason need to level it. So they try to marry this broad regard and caring for humanity with like, these are the people that and the things that are most important to me. So like Greendale and the study group for Annie. And then you have other people who I guess are like just nice people, or people that Annie deems like I should show them like some goodness. Like, and you can go out level by level. But then when you get to the people that are on Annie's shit list, it's like, how do you do this when you're supposed to have a respect and regard and like caring for all of humanity? How do you have these people on your shit list if that's your thing? You have to tell yourself that they are not human and therefore not worthy of your care, which is what Hufflepuffs have to do for people that they don't want to care about, basically. No, that's how they have to do it in their head.
Because Annie can't handle injustices, right? So the disliking a person or a group so much would be unjust, right? So she has to figure out, like, how can I hate this person or this group or whoever without that being like an unjust thing? So she dehumanizes them, and that's why
she moves them in and out too. I've seen episodes where she's dehumanizing Britta or Shirley so she can act the way that she does towards them, and then the forgiveness comes at the end, and then they're inside the circle again.
Yeah. She needs to do it in order to deal with like the injustice she commits. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to do it at all, and she'd just be like a doormat and a pushover. And Annie grows into not doing that. Like she grows into herself and stops being kind of that like yes woman, I guess. But that's just a Hufflepuff thing, like othering, so that they can handle not liking someone or being angry at something, or like the other Annie. You know, it's the whole thing with the other Annie.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, it is. And I mean, I guess I was going to say too, because we talked about this with Annie, like she's not like Britta where she could like care less whether she ever sees them again, but she so easily detaches herself when she needs to. Like her family, she just like never cares about them or mentions them again. Like they reject her and she's like, done.
Yeah, because her goal is more important than looking back at it.
Right, but like they've become like nothing to her, or Jeff rejects her relationship advances, and she still is friends with Jeff, but she completely forgets the whole like she's like whatever, and she moves on with it, and like I don't know, it's so weird and fat, like it. To me, just like along with emotions, just seems like it takes up so much energy. But I guess Hufflepuff's an emotion house too. But
yes,
but then like she's like okay as long as she has a group to fall back on. Kind of like what we talked about with Cass. I had mentioned that I wasn't totally sure in all those other universes if he didn't have something to move to from heaven, could he do it? Maybe that was the issue. But he had the Winchesters to go to. But like Annie's totally okay as long as she has something else to go to, and like she pushes herself into those groups. Like when she moves in with Troy and Ovid, she pushes herself into like being like doing the dream. Like they don't want her to be a part of the Dreamatorium.
That's true.
And she's like, nope, I live here now. I'm going to be a part of it. Sorry. Like she's like into it. And I guess like the only other thing I had to say about Annie and being a Hufflepuff is I keep coming back to the night school episode where she's trying to teach Jeff a lesson about faking classes, and Jeff is trying to not like she's trying to teach Jeff a lesson about faking classes, and Jeff is trying to manipulate his way out of her figuring out that he's actually faked the class.
Right.
So they both have set up this like I don't know, like a sting, so that Jeff has set it up so it actually looks like his night class is real, and Annie has set it up so that she's figured it out and has like paid off these people that Jeff has like gotten to, so that he like is taught like it ends up like the SNL skit when they get shot and the music explained
what to say.
But they all like get shot at the end, and who ends up winning? It's so
the only one who wins is Professor Since.
I was gonna say like because the guy. No, what is it? So Jeff doesn't actually do any work in hiring anybody. He just tells Annie that he's doing night class. And then Annie's like, oh, let's go see. And she goes to the like the room that Jeff tells her is the class. And the guy's like, my name's Professor Dana. And Annie's like, well, that's a lie. Right. And so she's looking at Jeff, and Jeff is like, I've never seen this guy in my life, but he is saying that I'm in his class. So
Jeff's like, yeah, this will work for me. Let's just go with it.
Yeah, he's like, let's just go with it. And Annie's like, no, this is a whole conspiracy now. So like with this fake conspiracy class that you made up is what the night class is. So it's like going through this whole thing. And like I watched that episode and I'm just staring at a Slytherin and a Hufflepuff bumble through like, because what is it? It ends up at like the security guard shoots Jeff. Right. And then does Professor Tin also get shot? It ends up with Annie being... I
believe so. At a certain point, it becomes a lesson for the dean and him being like...
Yes, it does. But it was a lesson before it got to that level. It was a lesson for Annie because she starts screaming.
It was a lesson for... First, it was a lesson for Jeff with how he treated her to make her look like... She was like, oh, Annie went crazy. See, this is what's going to happen. And then, like, it's a lesson for Jeff to not be a liar. And then it's a lesson for the dean to not be such a shitty dean. Like, it's so meta.
Then, like, Annie, like, it's a lesson for Annie because she thinks somebody who was shot was actually shot. Yes. So she's, like, screaming, and they're like, don't meddle.
Yeah. Oh, that one was so good.
So it's Hufflepuff and Slytherin just bumbling their way through a normal ass day of trying.
It's interesting because I have to say, out of all the community characters, she gave me the most trouble with placing her at first.
Which was so interesting to me because I said Hufflepuff right away.
I believe it's because I don't care for her so much. And I don't know. Like, I'm not saying I hate Annie. I'm just saying when I really, really love a character, my emotional connection to them kicks in, and then immediately I sort them because it's how my brain works. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this is why we have this podcast, because your brain works the same way. So I just never bothered sorting her. And so when I started thinking about it, I was like, Slytherin, because she's obsessed with her circle. But no, she's obsessed with the broader thing. And then the conspiracy shit, like how she can't let go of a role, she can't let go of a truth. I was like, maybe she's Ravenclaw because she can't let it go. And that's so Ravenclaw to me, like not being able to let something go when you've like really held, like, it's a puzzle. I got to solve it, But no, the way she handles things and the reasoning behind it, the motivations behind it are completely Hufflepuff. Like even all those examples you gave about how she like forces herself into the Dreamatorium, right? Like she others Abed, right? Like she really does, because she can't figure Abed out at all. And it drives her insane. So she has to other him. She just can't take him otherwise.
She does in that episode. She others him and is so mean to him. Like
she is, because she can't get it.
Yeah.
She can't get it. But when she moves in with them and like learns how to deal with him and understands him more and like develops a connection with him, she completely understands and values him. Like now no one can touch Abed. Like she'll kill you.
No, like I'm like, it's vague instances, but I remember like people visiting their apartment. She's like, oh no, don't touch that, because like like Abed will be upset. But
it's exactly what you were saying before, how she can move you in and out. Like she just she does that. She just like, Abed, freak zone, okay. And then she gets him and she's like, oh, no. I love Abed. I get him now.
And like all Hufflepuffs are different with this too. Like some of them have super set like circle levels or whatever. And like Annie is just Annie. I think that's like the nature of Community too, though, that all these characters are like satirically ridiculous. So it's like Annie's moving people in and out of this like human other circle so she can deal with them.
It's much different in a real life scale, like obviously. She's just not, she's a
people
character.
Are not going to be so easily moving their friends in and out of considering them.
Hufflepuffs don't, and no Hufflepuffs that I know can do that.
No, none that I know. Do that. If you can, like, hit us up. You sound like a super interesting person to talk
to. But that's why I was so excited, and I think Lauren was so excited to do Community, because they are such characters, like more so than a regular TV character. They're a study in a human. Like every episode is a character study, and they're just so interesting. You can really map them out and go, oh yeah, Jeff's a Slytherin. Like in every episode, Jeff does a Slytherin thing. In every episode, Britta does a Ravenclaw thing. Like in some ways, they're the easiest to sort, because it's a full-on character study every time.
Yeah.
So if you do disagree, come hop on our Twitter, leave us a tweet, leave us a comment about why. We'll link you back to this episode for our argument. We can have a conversation. We love arguing, obviously, as you've seen through this podcast.
Yes, we do. We will love arguing with you.
Oui.
Bonjour.
All right.
Okay, my friends. Is not French.
Allons-y.
Allons-y. That's not goodbye in French. What is it?
I don't know. That's let's go.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Thank you so much for listening, friends.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Sort of Brilliant. If our sorting choices inspired any rage or excitement, we'd love to hear from you. We're open to feedback, suggestions for characters to sort, and solid counter-arguments with citations.
Never forget your citations. You can find us hanging out on Twitter and Instagram at @SOB_pod, or shoot us an email at sortofbrilliant@gmail.com.
And since we're not above begging, please rate and subscribe to Sort of Brilliant on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please share our posts on social media. And if you're a Gryffindor, maybe you'll inspire sorting fights among your own friend group.
The theme music is Hot Shot by Scott Holmes. Can't wait to sort with you again next time. Bye!